Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to show you something that can instantly grab your future client's attention. We are building a modern developer portfolio website, and trust me, this design is not just your typical template. This UI UX has already been loved by over 100,000 designers on Figma. So you know, it's going to look absolutely stunning. We will be using the latest and greatest tech stack, Next.js 16, Tailwind CSS version 4, TypeScript, and GSAP Animation to bring everything to life with those buttery smooth transition. I will guide you step by step through the build from setup to smooth animation. So by the end, you will have a professional portfolio that not only shows your skill but sells them. And the best part, you will get the complete source code absolutely free. So you can customize it, make it your own, and impress your next client or employer. So get ready to build a portfolio that truly stand out in 2026. Okay, so now let's get started building our project. So at first we will go to a folder directory and create a new folder. Okay, so we'll have to rename it. For example, this is a Next.js portfolio website. Okay, so after then we'll open a code editor. I love Visual Studio Code. Then simply drag this folder and drop it on Visual Studio Code. Right now this folder is empty because we don't have any files and folder here. We're starting from scratch. Okay, so now we'll have to set up our Next.js project. So that's why we will go to a browser and then simply search Next.js. Okay, and then press enter. At the beginning you will find nextjs.org, the official website. We'll go there and simply copy this command. Okay, so this is the installation command. We'll have to copy it and back to Visual Studio Code. Here you will have to open your terminal. You can see the terminal option is here. You can choose a new terminal here or simply drag the bottom line. You can see here when you hover you will see a bottom liner. You can simply drag it and you can see you are on the terminal. So you must have to choose either git bash, command prompt. So not use PowerShell here. If you need to change, you can simply click this down arrow key, and from here you can choose either git bash or command prompt. So I'm using Mac, so that's why this is my default terminal. Okay, so then simply you will have to copy this command and paste it here. Okay, so this is the command. So whenever we command it, actually it will create a latest Next.js version project for us. Okay, so let me proceed. We'll have to press enter. It will ask for your project name. We already define our project name, so that's why we will ignore this step. To ignore this step, we can have to define a dot and then press enter. So here, so in new version Next.js 16, it's actually make our project setup very smooth. So it will just give you recommended setting. So this is the first one. If you need to set up TypeScript, ESLint, Tailwind CSS, App Router, and Turbo Pack, you can choose this default option. But as a developer, I need to customize my project, so that's why I will choose the third one. You can just use your down arrow key and go to the third one. So this is a customization option. You can use your own preference, which technology and packages you will use on your project. So that's why I think the third option is more developer friendly, and I choose the third option. So now let me press enter. It will ask, would you like to use TypeScript? Obviously we will keep yes here. You can use either left or right arrow key to move between them, and when it's yes, keep it. So that's why press enter. Now linting option, obviously ESLint is more comprehensive and more popular, so that's why we'll have to choose ESLint here. No need to change here, simply press enter. Would you like to use React compiler? Obviously as we're using React 19, so it's best to use React compiler, so obviously keep yes here. Then Tailwind CSS, obviously we'll use it, so yes here. src directory, it should help you to organize your projects, so you can keep it or you can just ignore it. So I obviously recommend to keep src directory. It will organize your project much more better way, so that's why let me keep it. Let me press enter. Then would you like to use App Router? Obviously it's recommended. In Next.js 16 we must have to use App Router to build a modern application. Okay, so keep it yes. Then turbo pack obviously recommended, and we'll have to choose turbo pack by default. Yes. Then no need to customize import alias. Now you can see your project is creating, and it will take a few seconds to complete this installation process. Wait until it's completed. Okay, it's done. Now let me clear this terminal. So by typing clear and press enter. Okay, so now simply we can run our project. Our project is already created. You can see we'll have all of these stuff. Okay, so here what you will do, you can simply, to run your development server, you can type npm run dev. Okay, and press enter. You will get a localhost URL here. So you can simply copy this or press Ctrl and click here to open it on your default browser. You can see a Next.js project is created. Now we have to customize our project. So how you can do customization? For example, you can see inside this app folder you will have layout.tsx. So this is the default layout that will be how you structure your project, and here we'll have a page.tsx. Inside this page.tsx you will have some code, and this code is now displaying here. So if you simply select everything and backspace to remove everything, we can create a React functional component. So for example, let me define a functional component const home, and here we'll have, for example, okay, so now we'll have to return it. We can return, for example, a empty fragment, and inside it we can simply define a h1 and say hello developers, hello developers. Okay, something like this. And now we'll have to export default it. Let me export default it, and after making a React functional component, you can see it's actually working perfectly. So if I zoom it a little bit, you can see it says hello developer. That means our project is just starting from this page.tsx. okay, so this is the default home page, and we simply customize it based on our need. Okay, so now at the beginning what you will have to do, look, to build this project actually we will need the Figma file. So where you will get the Figma file, I will provide you obviously. So this is the Figma file I am going to use. So this is made by Ibrahim Memon. Okay, so you can just get the link on my description, video description obviously. So what you will do, you can simply go to the link and then you will open it in Figma. Okay, you need to have a Figma file, Figma accounts. Okay, so open this Figma, and now it's opening. Okay, so this is your designing. So let me zoom a little bit. You can see this is your design. We'll have to follow it. Okay, and right now you can see this is very clean and modern design, and you can see our website is pretty good. You will have the text animation, will have this type of effects. You can see how it's looking. Okay, and if you go to the second option, you can see we're using animation here. Then we'll have this type of designing here, and the most important thing, you can see, you can, when you hover your project, you will see how smooth the animation is. Okay, if you just remove your mouse or cursor from here, you can see it's working perfectly. Okay, so you can display your project by doing this way obviously, and this is the little contact section. Okay, now you can just move to the any section. For example, you can go to the about section, you can go to the lab section, you can go to the project section, and obviously contact section based on your need. Okay, so now if you just check it on mobile device, it will be automatically responsive. You can see, so our project is responsive on mobile device. You can just click here to get the navigational item. Okay, then if you scroll, you can see it's very efficiently scrolling, and obviously here your animation will still work. You can see your animation is still working. So this type of little minimal design we're going to build, and you can extend it based on your need. You can add more section, you can add customize any of this existing section. It's up to you. I will guide you what the best practices to building a modern developer portfolio website by following this Figma. Okay, so now look here what we have. In our design we have a header section, then we'll have, this is the hero section, this is the works experience section, then this is actually tech stack that you are just working on it, then this is the project section, contact section, and we will have additionally a little footer at the end. Okay, so we'll have to make all of this stuff. So that's why at first let me customize our projects. We need a navbar at the top and a footer at the bottom. Okay, so to make navbar and footer, what you will do here, look, we will organize our projects more efficiently. So that's why at first we'll create a component folder. Here on this src folder we'll create a component folder. So components folder. Okay, so components folder, inside this components folder we can have a header, or we can have a navbar or something like this. Let me define a header dot tsx. Okay, we'll define RFC, React Arrow Functional Component. Okay, so how I get this shortcut? Actually I am using ES7. Actually this extension ES7 React Redux React Native Snippet extension by this person, and it's very popular extension. You can use it to get this type of suggestion that I am going to get it here. RFC, React Arrow Functional Component, and a functional component is created here. Okay, so we just create a header, and then obviously we need a footer. So that's why we will create another component, fwter footer, and obviously we will have to use tsx extension. So this is the extension of TypeScript. Okay, so we're using TypeScript, so that's why instead of JSX we'll have to use tsx. Okay, so now RFC, React Arrow Functional Component. So here footer is created. So how to use these two component to make our layout? Okay, so at the beginning we'll have a header and then we'll have a footer. Okay, so to give the shape of this, we will have to customize our layout section. So this is our layout, and here what you will do, you can simply customize it here. We can simply just add our header here. Okay, simply let me define SEADER. So let me import SEADER from actually component folder. You can see, so header from @component header. Okay, so let me self close it. Now if you check your website, you can see header is here. Now we'll have to import footer. So let me fwter footer, let me import it, and now you can see your footer is added. Okay, so you need a little gap in between them, or you can just simply do this way. Okay, so our website has a custom color. You can see here we'll have a custom color. This color code is actually, if you just check it here for my project, actually if you need to define the color here on this body section, you can add some colors. For example, let me remove this stuff. We don't need this. Need this. Okay, we'll have need to define a custom color that is actually busy, and then we will have a custom color. For example, 0b4 b4. Okay, 0416, something like this color. And right now if you back to your website, you will have this type of color. Okay, so after then what you will have to do, okay, we'll define text white color, and then actually next text white color will have a dash here. Now we'll define a minimum height. So min height, for example, is screen. Okay, something like this. Okay, Now you can see you will have this type of thing, no changes, but we add our background color, something like this type of color. Okay, so we will have to use a font. So we will have the fonts. Let me check. So this is the fonts of this type of fonts. So how to get this font? Actually, you can get it on actually Google Fonts. So you go to Google Fonts. Okay, and here we'll have this font. Actually, we can go to the here, and let me, I have selected here, I will remove it, and here actually in this front tab you will search this font. Okay, so it's actually suggesting, you can see this is actually the font we are going to use. Okay, so simply click here, get font, and get the embedded code. Here you will choose the import option. We'll have to copy this import. Okay, we'll have to copy this import, and now back to our code. Here we'll have global.css. We'll keep it at the beginning. Okay, we'll have to import the font at the beginning, and now we can simply do something like this on your here actually body. You can simply just define the font family, this font family. Okay, so simply copy this and now paste it here instead of this. Okay, so our font customization is much better right now. Okay, let me close it, let me close this. Okay, so this styling is already working. Okay, so now what you will have to do, so let's get started from the designing the header section. We'll have to make this type of header. I just do a little bit customization here. We'll have a project section and contact section, and obviously our header is actually mobile friendly. When you are on a small device, you can see, okay, so it's perfectly working. Okay, you can just click here to open it. Okay, fine. So to make this type of header, what you will do, okay, so for doing this actually I will simply define, sorry, this is not actually here. Okay, so we can just close everything and only keep our header open. Okay, header.tsx open. Okay, so at first, look, we need to design it. For example, we will just use semantic tag. So header, then we will have to define some styling. So for example, what you will do, we actually need to get some events. For example, when we're on a mobile device, when we're scrolling, or when our menu button will open. So that's why we'll have to add some events here. Sorry, let me add events here. Simply define some events. At first we'll have, for example, use a state, state, and we will define this will be default false, and we will get it actually is scrolled, scrolled, scrolled. Okay, so and setter function is scrolled. Okay, scrolled, scrolled. So this is the first one. Actually, when we just scroll our website, you can see initially we don't have any background here on the navbar, but when we scroll, you can see a background is here. So that's why we will just manage it by using this state. Okay, so after then what you will do, we need to make our navbar collapsible. So that's why when you are on a small device, it will be closed, but when you click, it will be open. Okay, so that's why we need another states. So that is actually is open, set is open. So that will obviously be false. Okay, fine. Then we will define a use effect hook. Okay, so this is for when we're scrolling or when we're just moving. So that's why we'll have use effect. Inside this use effect, we'll have a callback. Okay, so we can have a callback. and then we will have a empty dependency. Inside this callback function, we will have to define onScroll, or when we are just scrolling. So here we can simply define const onScroll, scroll scroll. It will be a function. Simply it will be a arrow function, and from here we can just keep it on the same line. It's a little code. We can simply set simply, let me copy this, set is scrolled, set is scrolled, and here we will simply get our window, and then simply define scroll y, scroll 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 y. So where is scroll y is greater than, we will just define a value, for example 8. 8 is because you can see when you scroll only 8 pixel or something like this, look, it's just look it here. When I scroll a little bit, almost 8 pixel height, it will just give you the shadow. So that's why we'll define window scroll y, that will be 8, and after then we'll call our onScroll function. Okay, now we will add a event listener here, window win window dot add event listener, and to call our scroll event, so scroll event, and our function will be onScroll, and then we'll pass a option. So that is actually passive true. Okay, and lastly we'll have to return a callback from here. So the callback will be the same code we have here. So let me copy this. Okay, so no, exactly no, we'll have window dot remove event listener on scroll, and here is something like this. This is actually remove the scroll when you just go top. For example, you will have the background color here, but if you just go to top, it will remove. So this will the remove event listener when you scroll to top. Okay, so I hope you understand what's going on here. Okay, now we will focus on the designing. So here and see, right now if you check, you will have this type of error. Okay, so why this type of error? It's actually says use effect is a client hook, you don't use it on server component. By default, Next.js, each and every component you create on Next.js, it's actually server component. So whenever you just define events or use event, use client hook, you must have to make your component client components. So that's why here we'll simply define use client, okay, derivative at the top of your header. Okay, so now you can see we have this. Okay, so let's design our header. Here we'll define a class name, we'll just add styling dynamically. So that's why let me define curly braces, backtick. So backtick you find the top key of above the tab. Here we will simply define it will be fixed, then we will have top 0 and left 0, right 0. Okay, that means it will just position on over the website, and right 0. Okay, right 0. So right now we can see you will have something like this. Okay, you will have something like this, and after then what you will do, after then you can just define z index 50. We will define transition on color, so that whenever we change our size, screen size, or we scrolling, then it will change the colors, and duration will be 300. Okay, now we'll apply some dynamic color, so dynamic styling. So that's why we'll have $sign curly braces, and inside it actually we'll call is scrolled, okay, or is opened. Okay, whenever is scrolled or is opened, we'll add some styling, otherwise we will have other styling. Okay, something like this. The first string will get the color. For example, we will have a background color. The background color is, for example, we'll have the same background color we just defined previously. We'll have 0b4. Okay, then 0b04. actually we can simply define 16. Okay, something like this. and then we can have some opacity here. You can just define a / to add opacity. We will define 70% opacity. We'll have backdrop, so backdrop blur, and we will apply a medium size blur. Then we can have some shadow. We can have shado shadow, and we'll apply some custom shadow. Okay, our custom shadow will be something like this. We'll have 0_0_40 pixel, then underscore RGB color, and we will define our color value, for example 1 on 3. Then we can have 39, then we can have 186, then alpha opacity will be 0.20. okay, something like this. Otherwise here we'll simply define BG transparent. Okay, so right now you see nothing actually, because we don't scrolling anything. For example, you may think here on this page.tsx you will have some div. For example, we can have a div, and this div will take, for example, a div 1, and we can have a minimum height. For example, mean height will be screen. Okay, you can just copy this div for a other sections. For example 2, you can have another div, so div 3, so that we can scroll actually. Okay, so now you can see, so it's actually look. Okay, so you have this, but actually our color is not applying. So why the color is not applying? So let me check it. We have this color. Okay, so if this color is not applying, we can just customize our global CSS. Here we'll have to do a little bit customization. Okay, so the customization is here. We'll have our background color. Here we will simply use our base color, that is actually 0B0416. okay, so this is the background color, and we'll have a foreground color, so that will be FFF. okay, so FF something like this. Now something like this, maybe if we run our project, sometime it's actually cache it. So let me press Ctrl+C and clear it, and then npm run dev again. So sometime actually our node modules caches it. So now I think, okay, much better. You can see the effect, and see you will have some effect here. Okay, so you will get it a little bit more if you just simply define some padding. Okay, so inside this header actually we will just do a little bit spacing. So that's why, for example, we can have a div here, and this div, for example, will have a logo. So at first we'll have a link component. We'll have to import link here, and we can say this is actually logo, and here you can have a strip, and our a strip will be, this is quotation /, and here on this div what you will say here, for example, we can simply define some styling. We'll have max w 7xl, so this is the maximum height of the website. Then we'll have mx auto, so mx auto, then we can add some padding. Px will be 6. Then on large device, px will be, for example, 8. We'll apply padding y-axis. Okay, so that is 4. We'll have flex, then justify center, and justify item center, and justify between, something like this. Okay, so now if you can see, your background color is here. Look, you have some background color. So here is your background color. If you just see, if you just change it, for example, if you just apply some different background color, for example, for testing purpose, let me define red, for example 500, and now and see it's actually working. I hope you understand it's actually working. We need to more customization of our body, so that's why it's fine right now. Okay, so thing is that after doing that, we will have to just define some styling on this link. Here we can have class name. We'll say, so this will be actually text reaction. Then we'll have font extra bold. Then we'll have text color, and this text color will be actually hash 7a then double to CA. Okay, something like this. Okay, so now if you check it, you can see you have this type of logo, but we'll actually have to use this type of logo, and this logo you can just simply get equation. I will use equation sign, SIGN sign. So something like this. Let me get it. Summation of equation. Summation. Equation summation. Or let me get it. Okay, I need this type of actually sigma. Okay, let me copy this, and now we'll keep it on this logo section. Okay, and let me remove this. Actually, it's actually not giving me this exact value. Let me read more. Where is actually we get this? So sigma, let me copy this and take it here. We'll simply sigma. Okay, sigma icon. We'll have to copy it actually. Let me copy this and paste it here actually. Now it will work. Oh my god, why actually not getting this? So we'll have to from where we can get it. Let me. Okay, now it's perfect. After a lots of try, I just get able to get this icon. Okay, so now I think it must better. Okay, if I zoom out, you can see the exact version we'll have. Okay, so then what you will have to do after completing this logo, what we'll do, you will actually define desktop navigation. Let me add comments so that you can understand it. So this is actually logo. Then we need to make desktop navigation. So we'll say desktop navigation menu, something like this. And for this actually we can have, for example, navbar, and inside this navbar we will have some link component. So let me define link. Okay, so link component, and here we can have, for example, home. Okay, so what you can do, you can simply say a step that will be hash home. So we'll have to just make this type of functionality. Look, whenever we click home, it will on home. When you click about, it will be on about. When you click lab, it will be on lab. So here you can see every time we'll have hash then id. Okay, so that's why we'll have home here, and let me define the styling here. So we will have the styling something like this. We can simply say this will be hover styling will be text, and we'll apply some custom text, something like hash A855 F7. Okay, something like this. And then we will simply define our transition, JSON, and duration. Okay, duration. So duration will be 200, something like this. Now if you see here, you will have home, and you can see the transition is working. Okay, so we'll do the similar for others stuff. We'll simply press Ctrl Shift Alt and down arrow. Shift Ctrl and Alt. Okay, shift all down arrow to make some copies. For example, the first one is home, the second one will be about, about, about. Then the third one, probably, which one actually, the third one is lab. Okay, so let me define lab here. Then we'll also customize here, so that will be lab. The second one is actually about, about. Then third one is actually, for example, projects, projects, projects. Okay, and obviously we'll have to define projects here. And lastly, maybe we can have contact. Okay, so we can have a contact. Let me press shift alt down arrow to make a copy, and this will be actually contact. We'll have to make customization here. Okay, so right now when you have these actually, and see our navigational item is here. Okay, so if you click, you can see a ID is here added. Okay, but let me do a little bit styling. Sorry, I'm just confused. Let me remove it. Here we'll have to add some styling. Let me define class name. We'll simply define our nav will be by default hidden on a small device, so it will be hidden on a small device. On medium device it will be flex. We'll define space x10, so that will be the space between them. Then we'll have font medium, then we'll have text large, and then we'll have text white color, so text white, and we'll add opacity, for example 80%. Okay, so right now we'll have the same exact styling. Okay, exact styling. Okay, so after having this, how to just move to the different section. Look here on this page.tsx, we'll have this, all of this div, and let me format this actually. Okay, so now if you just define, for example, this is actually, let me remove this h on, and for example this is your hero section. Okay, hero section, and then this div is actually for about section. Then maybe this third div is actually for lab section. Then we can have others div. For example, let me copy this. Okay, now this is actually projects. Okay, and last one is actually contact. Okay, contact. Okay, so right now you can see we'll have different pages, but what you can do here, you can add ID. Each of these you can have ID. For example, I can add ID here. So ID will be, the first one will be home, then the second one, so you will have to make it based on here. So the second one will be about, so ID about. The third one ID will be, for example, lab, so copy it, paste it here. The fourth ID will be project, projects, projects. The fifth one is actually ID contact. Okay, something like this. Now if you see, whenever you click about, it's moved to the about page. You can see it's moved to the about page. When you click this lab, it will move to the lab page. You can see here is your lab. Okay, we will just fix it, but right now it's working. So this is project. So now if you want to make a smooth scrolling, you can simply add styling to your global CSS. Here we will simply say we can have a HTML, and we will apply smooth scroll. So right now you can see when you click, okay, so this is perfectly working, but we need to still some styling to improve our experience. For example, what we can do here, we can have let me define. We can have, for example, we can have a main, and we can simply say class name will have for example max w7xl, and this type of styling. So right now you can see when you click, okay, so everything is working perfectly, but we'll have to add a lots of padding actually. Okay, so here we will have options to fix it. No worries about it, we will just simply just fix it easily. So for example, right now what you can do, you can have to add some styling. So you will simply define some padding y to check if it's working, for example 24, and everywhere we will define py24 for now testing. I think it's now much better. And see, when you click about page, when you click home, hero section, so whenever we applying py, so extra padding 24, it's actually scroll to the perfect section py24. Okay, py24, so perfect. Right now we'll have the perfect features. So you can see, if you click about, right now you are on about. When you click lab, it's on lab, projects and contracts. Okay, so everything is perfectly working here. Now next thing is that our navbar for the large device is working, but whenever you just check it on mobile device, you can see it's actually not there. Okay, so we'll have to make mobile device friendly or mobile screen friendly navigational menu. Okay, so for making this, actually here after this desktop menu, we will simply add a button. Okay, so this button will be a bar icon, so that's why you can simply use react icons to get the bar. For example, let me take a new terminal. Here we'll have to import npm install, and that is actually react icons, something like this. So you can just search it if you forget. For example, we can have react icons. Okay, and you can search bar icon. So bar icon, you can see there are lots type of bar. We can choose which type of bar. Let me check it. So if I inspect it, you can will have this type of 3 bars or 4 bars. Okay, so you can choose any of this. Let me choose, for example, these 3 bars. We can simply import it at the beginning. Okay, so let me import it at the beginning. Now we'll have to copy this, paste it inside this button. Okay, and here actually if you check right now, you can see this is your bar. You can add some size. Here you can simply define class name, and you will have, for example, size, and size will be, for example, if you need the size of each, for example 24, you can have 6. So this size 6 is actually 24 pixels, and right now we can see it's much better. Okay, so this is okay, but when you click, we'll have to show navigational menu. Okay, so that's why actually you will have some one click event here. So this is one click, and we will call a callback function, and that will simply a arrow function here, set is open, and we will just toggle it. So that's why not is open. Okay, something like this. Okay, now we will add some styling here. For example, we will have some class name, and we can simply define on medium device we must have to hidden it, so that it will not visible on a medium sized device. We'll have some padding p2. We can have rounded. For example, we can have text white, and we'll have 80% opacity. When someone hover it, we can have text, for example, we can have text color, others type of color. For example, we can simply say when someone hover, we can have text styling will be similar to this this color. So we can choose this and simply choose it here. Okay, okay, now we can have some transition. For example, transition and duration, transition and duration 200. Okay, I just choose this type of styling. It's up to you how we can define it. For example, here it's perfect. Okay, so now when you click, but there is no navigational menu is open. How to define when you click this type of menu items will be here. Okay, so how you implement this? For implementing this, actually you will simply close this div. You will have to simply close the div, and here we'll have to say mobile menu. Okay, so we'll simply define a curly braces, and we will call is open. Okay, so if navigational is open, we will have end, and here we can simply define a div, and inside this div we can have all of this stuff. We can simply copy this section. Okay, we can simply copy this section. We can make it div. It's up to you. Okay, so now let me format this document. Okay, so but we'll have to customize the styling. For example, here on this div we'll make it hidden on medium device, so that's why it will be md hidden. Okay, hidden. Then we can have some padding px6, and we'll have pb4. Okay, so then inside this div, we'll add a little bit styling. For example, we can have simply flex here. So we can have flex here. Then we will simply define flex will be gap by default, so it will have flex column, and gap will be 3. Okay, then we don't need to keep it space x10. Okay, we'll have text base size here, and we don't need to text excel. And okay, everything is fine. Just simply apply flex call gap 3, text base font medium, and here text actually 80% opacity, and everything is perfectly working. And the another thing you will have to do, when anyone click this, you will have to close the menu. For example, when you click home, look, the icon is gone. Okay, so the menu item is gone. So how you can do this? Here we'll have to define on click events, and we'll say set is open false, and we'll apply it to each of this. Okay, so each of this, so that whenever anyone call any menu, it will automatically move. Okay, simply define it. Okay, so right now we can see we have our application. Look, it's actually working. If you click this one, so it's gone. If you click lab, so lab section perfectly working. So I hope right now we are okay. So if you click contact page is here. If you click home page is here. If you click, so navigational menu is opening. So perfectly we have completed our menu items or navbar. Next we'll have to design our hero section. So similar like this. Look, we'll have to have this type of hero section. If you just scroll it, for example, let me refresh. Here you can see we'll have text animation, we'll have this cursor arrow, we'll have text here, then we'll have this type of text, we'll have to use this type of effect. Okay, so how to design this type of thing? You can see our design is exactly the same here. We'll have to follow this design and make our hero section perfectly. Okay, so now we'll have to start creating our hero section. And if you check the looks here, you can see we need this avatar icon, we need this arrow, we need this ellipse, and we need all of this stuff. Okay, so how you can collect all of this? So firstly, whenever you want to collect these items, for example this avatar image, click here and go bottom. You can see you can have preview, and then you can just export it. Okay, simply choose your project directory, and for example we just have this project, and we just choose a public folder to paste it, and we can just rename it, for example avatar avatar. Okay, something like this. Right now, after doing that, you can see inside this public folder you will have this avatar image. So you will have to download all of these image and assets. You need to download these icons and all of this stuff. Okay, but actually to smooth your work, I will provide the source code. So that's why there on that public folder you will find all of this stuff. So let me, for now, I simply copy it for now. So for example, inside this project you will have a git repository on the description. Just go there and download the source code and then copy this public folder and go inside your project. So go inside your projects and here you simply paste it. Okay, then replace and see a new public folder is available containing images. Okay, you will have all of these images and stuff. Okay, so right now we can see inside your public folder you will have all the images and assets you need to work with. Okay, so after doing that, let's back to the page.tsx. Here you can see we'll have this div. So this div is actually showing here. So instead of this div, we will create a hero section or something like that. We can simply say hero section, ACC hero section .tsx rfc react arrow functional component, and right now we'll replace this div. Okay, we'll simply say this is hero section, and let me import it. After doing that, you actually see your hero section is here. Okay, so your hero section is here. So how to style it? Actually, now we'll customize this hero section. Here we'll just make it section element. Then we'll have some class name here. We will simply say it will be relative, and then we can have some padding top, so 36, then padding bottom 24. Okay, so something like this, and obviously we'll have to add the ID. So this is actually home. Okay, so right now I think it's okay. And see, this is your hero section, and you will have to exactly design the same thing. Okay, so you can see we'll have all of this stuff. So here you have image, these greetings, then this is the headlines, then your details. Okay, so we'll make all of this stuff. So right now inside it, actually we can have a div, and this div contain two sections. Okay, the first section is about avatar and headline. Okay, headline. So this will contain two things, and avatar and headline. Then we can have another thing that is actually this section. Okay, so this is actually what we can say, role and description. Okay, so we can say this is role and description, DESCRIPTION. Okay, something like that. And right now here what you will do, at first let me start with this section. So how we can implement that? Here we can have a div, and this div contain two divs. Okay, so first div is actually for avatar, and the second div is actually for headline. Okay, headline, and we can just implicitly say that avatar plus actually greetings. Okay, greetings, something like this. So right now we can see you have this avatar and greetings. So avatar and greetings means here you can see you will have avatar and this is your greetings, and this is actually your headlines. Now we will have something like this, but we'll have to style it. Okay, so how you can just style it? To style these, actually here let me target this div first. We will simply make this div a class name, and we'll say this will be, for example, we need extra margin, so that's why we simply say margin top 12. Then on medium device we'll have margin top 24. Okay, something like this. And right now you can see after doing that you will have mass space here. Okay, you will have mass space here. So after then we will simply target this div, and this div will be a flex. Okay, because we'll have two children, we'll simply define this will be by default flex, and we'll simply say this will be flex column. Then we can have on medium device we'll have flex row. Okay, so row, then we can have gap of 8. Okay, then we say it's actually item starts. Item starts means all the items will start from this left align. Okay, after then we can say we have on medium device we'll have items center, and lastly, okay, it's fine right now. Right now we can see we will have this stuff, your avatar and greeting, and this is your headline, exactly the same thing. Let me just illustrate you for you. Okay, so this is your avatar and this is your headline. Okay, it's actually side by side, but here and see we'll have to on this avatar section we'll have two things. This is the image, and here a arrow, and your greetings is here. Okay, so something like this, but we have these headlines, something like this. Okay, so let's get started with this headline sections, how we can design it. So for these, actually for designing this headline, how to just approach this. Actually, look, for defining this, actually headline will have this div, and let me define, add a comments, this is headline. Okay, so we can simply say class name, and our headline will be on medium device. We'll add some padding left, so pl2, then actually that will be text center, and on medium device text will be left. Okay, so that means on a small device it will be on text center. So let me see how it's actually look like. So inspect and see here, it's right now on center, but it's right now on left. Okay, so how it's actually working. So after then what you will do, so inside these actually we can have different thing. For example, look here, we'll have at first, let me define here, at first we'll have a, let me say we'll have a paragraph. So this is p tag, then we'll have a h on, so h on, and inside this h on we'll have this color, and here you will have another paragraph. Okay, something like this. So let me implement this. At first we'll have a paragraph, so this is our first paragraph. Let me copy this content. For example, our first paragraph says a designer who. Okay, a designer who, then we'll have a h on. For example, we just simply copy this for now and say it will be something like this. And lastly we'll have another paragraph, and this paragraph will say this thing. Okay, this thing. Okay, so right now you can see you will have all of the content here, but you will have to style it. Okay, so for doing this, here on this paragraph we can simply add styling. The styling will be, we'll have text sm size by default. On medium device we'll have text base size. Okay, then we'll say text will be white color and opacity will be 60. We'll have margin bottom 2 etc. Okay, so right now if you see you will have this. Then let me just design this h2. Okay, so for designing this h on, actually here we'll have class name. We can simply say text will be 4xl, so it is the size of text for the small device. And then when actually on a small device or larger device we'll have text 5xl. Okay, above the small and larger device we'll have 5xl. Then we'll define font will be normal, and then we can have tracking. So tracking means actually letter spacing, and we'll define tight, and we'll have leading means line height, and leading will be 1.5 15, something like this. So right now if you check here, you will have this. Okay, so it's must okay, but right now let me style this paragraph. Okay, so for now actually we will define a margin top up to, then we will define text size, so that would be for example 10 pixel. Okay, something like this. Then we can say on medium device text will be extra small, that means 12 pixel. Then we will have text white, 50% opacity. We will define max width, so max WMD. And on medium device we'll say max W, for example LG. We'll define MX auto and say on medium device MX0. Okay, something like this. So right now we can see your section is okay. Now we'll have to focus on this section. So this section will be similar like this, and you can check exactly the same thing. Okay, so how you can just design this section? Let me take some space so that we can just visual our h1 properly. Okay, let me remove this. So for this h1, at first we will take some span here. For example, we'll take a span. This first span will say don't judge a book. Okay, don't judge a book, something like this. Okay, so here we will simply define class name, that will be block. Okay, block. So right now you see you will have this don't judge a book. After then we will have by its cover. Okay, so now after these actually we'll have another span, and inside this we'll have by its cover. So right now you can see you will have this by its cover. We can also say this will be class block. Okay, so something like this. And after then actually by its, here we will cut it. We need to take a span tag and simply say for example by span, so something like this. Okay, so here you can see there is no space. How to get a space? You can simply let me define a space. So if it's it's perfectly working, you can see there is in the space. And now here actually we can simply do a little styling. We can simply say class name, and this span will be, for example, we will define relative, then we'll have inline block, then we'll have align baseline. Okay, something like this. So right now we still will have this. So look, the spacing has gone. We can have simply make a empty string or curly braces empty string. Okay, so right now we can see the spacing is okay. So after doing that, what you will do actually, here we will have to define the cover a little bit colorful. So that's why we'll cut this. And now here let me fix the alignment. Here we'll have a span, and inside this we'll have cover. Okay, so we'll simply say the style of the cover. So this is will be relative, and then we can just say this will be index 10, and we'll have a color. So the custom color will be something like this. We can simply say 7 7BA, something like this. So right now we can see it's the color is okay. So if the color is okay, we'll have to just use the ellipse, okay, on top of it. So that's why here we will take another span, and inside this span we'll have a image. Okay, so we'll simply import image from next. Okay, so next component, and this image will have a src, and we keep all our image on public folder. Whenever you have public assets on your public folder, you can simply go to the public folder and check where is the image. This is image. Then you will have hero. So let me check this is spelling HERO. Okay, so let me correct it. So this is the icons we need to copy. So let me rename it, copy it, and now we'll have firstly images, images folder, then this. Okay, then we'll have alt. So this is actually alt, and this is say it's arrow. Okay, fine. Right now we can see you will have this type of error. So says property width is required. So if you don't provide width, you can simply define by default fill. Okay, then we'll have some class, and we say object contain. That means it will take contain, and if you hover here, you can see it's actually object fit. Okay, so now here lastly we will define priority to load this image, though if the image is big, but you can see there is no actually this image. So why the image is not showing there? Okay, so let me fix it. Here on this span we'll have class name, and we will say this will be pointer events none. Then we will apply absolute here. Then after then we will define minus insert y insert x2. Okay, insert x2 minus insert y2. Then we will have translate y. So for example 1. Then we'll have z indexing z minus 10 and rotate 12. Okay, so after applying this, you can see here your icons is there, but it's actually so poor and so little. Okay, so how to fix it? Actually, to fix it, let me check if I made any mistake of it. Okay, so this is actually insert x, insert y. Okay, translate y, rotate 12. You see, everything is perfect, but maybe let me inspect a little bit. And here okay, so your image is here, and let me oh shit, I just use array, it will be ellipse image. Okay, so the error is that we'll have actually not hero array, it will be ellipses. Okay, so I just choose the wrong image incorrectly, so let me replace it. Okay, so right now after doing that, you can see everything is working perfectly. You will have this stuff. Okay, so but you can see this dot dot is inside it, so you can just make it outside of it. Okay, so how you can just do that? For example, you can cut this and paste it after this span. Okay, now you can see it's perfect, must perfect. Okay, so this headline section is done. Now we'll have this avatar section and these actually greetings. Okay, so that's why we will focus on this div. Okay, so this div actually contain two things. At first, let me add some styling here. We will have class name, and we say this will be as usual. We can have relative, we can have by default flex, then justify will be center, then we can have on medium device we'll have justify int. Okay, something like this. Now you can see it's something like this. Okay, so inside these actually we will say, let me add a comments here. This is avatar and greetings. Okay, greetings. And inside this div, what you will do, at first we need simply a purple row, a purple grow row. So that's why we will have a div here. So simply this div will have nothing, but it will be a empty closing div, and will have some styling on this div. So which type of styling will do though? It will be pointer events none as usual, then will be absolute, then we'll have minus inside 12, something like this. After then on medium device we'll have minus inside 24. This will be rounded full actually. Then we'll apply gradient, so that's why busy linear, linear linear, and linear linear, that will be to bottom. Okay, so something like this. We'll have to define a starting color. So starting color will be a start from. Okay, something like this. This starting color is 7C. Sorry, it's not here. We'll have to keep it inside it. Hash 7C 3AED. Okay, so this is starting. Then we will have a middle color inside this via, and here we can have, for example, 6D, then 28 D9. Okay, something like this. And we'll add some opacity. For example, it will be 30%. And lastly, we'll have two transparent. Okay, transparent. And we'll apply some blur, that will be 3XL. And our opacity will be 90%. Okay, opacity will be 90%. Right now you can see this type of effect is created. Okay, so you can see this type of effect, neon type effect. Okay, so after doing that, let me format this code a little bit. Okay, perfect. And after this div, actually we can have another div. This div will contain an image. Okay, so this div will contain an image. So let me define src. Src will be the image. Okay, / image gs avatar dot png. Okay, let me self close it. After then alt, so avatar image, it will say avatar image. And then we'll apply width. So obviously without adding width it will not work. We'll have something like this width. Then we'll have same height 240. After then we can say class name. Class name will be relative, div relative, and then we can say it's priority, so it will ignore the loading. Okay, so that's why we'll have something like this. Look, this is the image. Okay, after just taking this image, what you will have to do? Okay, so now you will have to implement the greetings. So that will just see here we'll have arrow and your text is at the top. Okay, so how you can do that? So after this image, actually we will say, for example, we will have a div, and this div will actually, let me add a comments here. So this is actually a small greeting. Okay, greeting with curve, curv curve arrow. Okay, something like this. And then actually it will be, for example, what you will do, let me style this. So this will be relative. Okay, now inside this div we'll have another div. Okay, we'll have another div, and this div, actually here we can have div, and this div will have another div. Okay, this type of structure, and inside it will have image. Okay, we'll have image, and this image will be, so let me keep all of this stuff. We have all of this stuff, but here we'll now use actually hero arrow dot png from these images. Then it will be arrow image. We don't have to use width and height. Instead of this width and height, we will define fill, so it will take the full width. Then we'll have actually class name. We'll make this object contain. Then we can have scale x 100. Okay, so after then we'll have to rotate it, so our rotate minus rotate 6. Okay, so now if you check it here, you will have this arrow. Okay, so this arrow is here, but this arrow is not positioned perfectly. So that's why what you will do, you will target this div and simply say class name, and here we'll have relative. We will define a width 16, height 6. Okay, width 16, height 6. Then we can have on medium device we'll have w24, and on medium device we'll have height 16. Okay, something like this. Right now we can see we'll have this positioned. Okay, so it's actually not perfectly positioned, but we'll have to fix it. So to do that, here we'll have another div. Here we'll simply target this div and we'll say this is actually relative. Then we'll have flex items center. Then we'll have justify int. Okay, now target this div. We'll have class name, and this div is actually selected none, or select none. Okay, then we'll have pointer events none. We'll have absolute. Then we can have minus top 8. Then we'll have minus right, for example 6. And now we'll have on medium device minus top will be 16. On medium device minus right will be 40. Okay, text will be extra small, and text color will be text white /70. Okay, so right now if you check it, you can see you have this. Okay, you have this on top, but not actually perfect like this. Okay, we will fix it within a few seconds. Okay, so no worries. Okay, so this is actually small greetings. Okay, but after this div, look, this is image and this is your div, and here our flex items is there. So that's why here in this div we will take a span, and this span will say hello I am. Okay, simply say this. After then we'll have another span, and this will say your name. So for now let me check this. For example, let me use this creator name IVRM. Okay, something like this. And here we will have styling. Let me define class name, and this will be text and custom text color. For example, hash A7 8B FA, something like this. And now what you will do here on this div class name, and perfectly we will say minus margin top 6 on medium device. Sorry, on medium device we'll have minus margin top 10. Then we'll have shrink 0, SHRINK, shrink 0. Okay, so now if you do this, you can have see this section is perfect. Okay, so this section is perfectly working exactly the same thing if you check it. Okay, oh, there is a space missing, you can fix it by doing this way. For example, curly braces, and inside it will have empty space. Okay, so right now it's perfect. And if you just inspect, you can see whenever you decrease the size, you will have all of this stuff. Okay, you will have all of this stuff perfectly working. Okay, so if it's working right now, what next? So after doing this, one thing we can do that, we will have to just make this section, this is animated text, and we'll have all of this stuff. Okay, so for doing this, here is headline. Let me close the first div, and here we'll have a comment that is actually role and description. We'll have another div, and this will actually take some space here. Let me define margin top 16. Then we can have max w 3xl. Then we can have, okay, I think right, this two thing is right now. Okay, and inside this we'll have h2, and this will be something like this. We'll have, for example, let me copy this. What is this? Okay, software engineer, something like this. Okay, we'll have this. We will make it styling. We say this will be either text 3xl. Then we'll have on SM text will be 4xl. Then we can have on medium device text 5xl. Okay, so 5xl will have font normal, then tracking tight, so TRA seeking tight. Okay, so perfect. Right now we can see we'll have this. Oh my god, it's something amazing, but still we have lots of stuff. After this text we'll have another text, something like this. So let me, after this h2 we'll have a paragraph. Let me paste this, and here we need to use an icon. So that's why after this add we can simply use a span. Okay, so we'll use a span. Let me cut this. We'll have a span, and this span need to be actually need to be a icon. So let me paste Facebook, and before this Facebook we'll have an icon. So how to get an icon? We will just take an icon from React icon. So that would be fa Facebook. So for example, fa icons. Okay, let me self close it, and here we will say it will be class name. It will be size 4. Okay, size 4. Then fine, we'll just align Arial attribute, Arial hidden. Okay, something like this. Now if you check here, you will have this Facebook. Okay, but it's actually not perfect. So why it's actually not perfect? We'll have to style this span. This span can have by default inline flex. As we're using flex above, we'll have inline flex. Then it will be item center, then gap will be 1. Then lastly, text color will be a custom text color. I'm just using all of this custom text color on 877 F2, something like this. Okay, so right now we can see you will have this, but we need still some space on this. So look, we need still some space. So how we can just make that type of space? Let me, this is actually, if not working, we can simply define margin right 1. Okay, so if you do this, so your spacing is perfect. Okay, and you can also say justify center. Okay, perfect. I think we don't need this justify center. It will be actually, the gap is not working because the GAP, the P is missing. Okay, we don't need to define margin right. Okay, Perfect. So right now it's working perfectly. So we have something perfect, but still we need to improve it. For example, we still need to improve it. We'll have this text after this section. After this paragraph, we can have another paragraph, and we paste this text, and let me add styling here. So this will be margin top 6, a little bit bigger space. Then we'll have text white, so that would be 70%, and we'll have leading 7. Okay, leading 7. Perfect right now. And see, it's almost okay. This hero section is almost okay, but we'll have to animate this. Okay, so how to animate this actually? So for implementing this animate, we will use a simple package. So the package name is react-simple-typewriter. Okay, so you can use any type of this type of package. We'll just go to react-simple-typewriter. So this is actually something like this. We'll have to import it. So copy it, then back here. Let me choose this terminal and let me import it. After doing this, look. So what you can do, let me go to the example here. Look, it's actually something like this. We'll have documentation. So we'll have all of this stuff. Okay, so this is component, how you can just define. Here you have the hook. Okay, so I think you understand how you will have to use. Let me copy it, and right now we'll keep it at the top. Okay, so after having this here, how to animate it actually? So for animating this, here on this h2, here on this h2, inside this we'll simply cut this text, and take some enough space here, and inside this we'll call typewriter, and we'll just save close it. And inside this typewriter we'll have to provide some props. For example, at first you can see documentations, you will have to provide props. These props will contain all of this stuff, and we'll take this. Okay, this will be the words. Okay, at first we'll have words, so we will just pass here an array. Okay, something like this. Let me copy the first one. So whenever we'll have something like this, we'll have this is our first text. Okay, so now we'll keep it inside a string format. So keep it inside a string format. Then we take another text. For example, I am just checking this type of thing. So the first props will be words, then the second props would be, let me check here, you will have type speed or something like this, type speed. So you can apply type speed, and this will be, for example, I will define 65. You can use any type of speed. Okay, after then we'll have, let me copy, we'll have, for example, deleted space. So character deleting speed in millisecond. Okay, so deleted speed, so that will be, for example, the value will be 0. So after then we can have, for example, delay speed. So this is delay speed, how many delay between two words. Okay, so delay speed will be, it's a millisecond. Obviously we will use, for example, 60, 100. And right now we can see we'll have all of this stuff. Say we'll have to use client derivative. Okay, whenever you use it, you will have to use a use client derivative. So let me fix it at the top of this hero section. We'll have to define use client derivative. Okay, so right now it will be fixed. Okay, look, this is perfectly working. Okay, so you can see this is automatically working, but still we'll have to define some others. For example, we'll define cursor. So we'll define cursor, then we'll have cursor style. We can have cursor style, that will be this pipeline, and lastly we'll have loop. Okay, so we can have loop. So you just define how many times it will just loop through. you can just define 1, so it will just complete on a space. Okay, so you can see full stack developer, I am UI UX designer, I am tech enthusiastic. So it's perfectly working, and after doing that, our hero section is perfect. Okay, so our hero section is complete and perfect, and in the next video we'll move to the works experience sections. So this is our works experience sections. You will have to make this type of beautiful UI using the background effect. Okay, so hope you are just learning something new on designing based on this tutorial. Okay, so now it's time to make this section. Okay, this is our experience section, so that's why at first we'll have to create a component. So let me close this hero section, and right now here on this component folder, let me close this. Inside this component folder we'll create a work experience section. So this is work experience dot tsx rfc reactor functional component. Okay, fine. Now we will define, this is section, we will have to define an id, and this id will be, for example, avoid, and here we will define some class name, like we can have a relative and we'll define padding top and bottom. So py is obviously 24. Okay, so right now we'll have to import it on page.tsx. We'll just remove this div, and here we'll paste work experience section. Okay, import it now, so close it. Okay, so right now if you back your website, let me reload. Okay, so you can see here is your works experience section. This section is working perfectly, and after then let me close all of this stuff. Okay, so next what we can do that, actually if you just check this design, let me do a little bit zoom. Okay, so if you check this design here, what we have actually, you can see we'll have something like this here. This is actually a h2. Okay, it would be a h2. Then here h2 or h3, it's up to you. Here you will have 4 cards, so you will have actually 4 cards. Look, they are aligning with grid layout. You will have to define grid layout and column 2, and all of this 4 card will be inside a parent card. Okay, something like this. So let's make this. So for doing that, actually here on this orgs experience section, at first look, there's another thing. You will have the background gradient or background effect here. So that's why obviously inside these we will just define glow effect. Okay, we'll do a little bit glow effect here. So this will be a div. Okay, this div will not have any content. If there is no content, you can simply define this way. Okay, it's up to you. So this will be single div, and inside it you can have some styling. So what style you can do, you can have class name, and you define, for example, pointer events none. Then you will have absolute, and then you will define left half, left 1/2. Then you can have top 0. Then you will define minus translate x, for example half, so 1/2. Then we say we would have to define some width, so that's why width will be, so for example our width would be 9 viewport width. Okay, so 90 viewport width. Then on a small device, so for a small device we can just define the width will be w, and we'll use arbitrary value, that would be, for example, 760 pixel. Then we can have a medium device, so that would be width For example 1000 pixel. Okay, after then by default we can just define a small height. Okay, so a small height will be um, for example 280 pixel. Then on a small device will have 38 pixel. Okay, 380 pixel. Then obviously on medium device will have height 520 pixel. Okay, and then we will have some opacity. So our opacity will be, for example, opacity will be, for example, 40%, and blur will be 3x. Okay, something like this. So after doing that, if you back to your project here and see, actually there is no content, so you cannot see it. Okay, it will be fixed within a few seconds. But lastly, to end up with, we can add some styles. Okay, so this is actually we will define radial gradient. So that's why we'll just doing a css styling. Here we'll have a style, then inside this we'll have another curly braces, and we'll define background. And here our background will be, for example, radial gradient. Okay, gradient. And here we will define our percentage value. So at first will be, for example, let me close it. At first will be, for example, 60%. Then we'll have 60%. We'll define at 50%, and then 0%. So this is the direction of the radial gradient. Then we can have a RGBA value. Here we'll define our color. So our color will be, for example, 168 comma, then 247, then 0.6 opacity, and we missed a value. So here we'll have another value that will be 85. Okay, so this is our RGBA value. And after the RGBA value, we can have the percentage of opacity, then 0%, and then we'll have another RGBA value. So this RGBA value will be 126 comma 34 comma 206 comma 0.0, and then it will be, for example, 70% opacity. So it starts with 0% and then move to the 70%. So, okay, so by doing this way, if you now check here, you can see the effect. Okay, and see this type of effect, it will be more amazing when we are working with the text and other stuff. Okay, so after doing that, actually after completing this effect, so let me go outside the div. After completing this div, we will have another div. So this is actually for content. Here we'll have h2 or h3. For example, h3 here we'll say work experience. work exprience experience. Okay, so right now PRIENC or experience, and right now we can see the text is here. Okay, so now we'll do some styling on this text. So for example, we have class name, we'll have text to Excel, then on medium device text will be 3XL. Then we can have font semi bold. Then we will say text will be white forward slash 90% opacity, and margin bottom will be 8. Okay, something like this. So right now we can see you will have all of this stuff. And after having this, look here, we need some card. Okay, so to make this, actually at first look here, the design we have explained the designing. At first we will have a div. Inside this div we will have 4 cards. Okay, so that's why here what you will do, after this h3 we will take a div. Inside this div we will have 4 card. Okay, so for example, we need data, and we will make a array of objects by looking this way. Okay, so for example here we can have a array of object, for example experience item, Priences items. Okay, something like this. And here actually we'll have an array of object. Okay, why this is co. Okay, we just mix an. Okay, so experience item, here we look every card need icon, then text. Okay, every icon, description and text, 3 things will take. So for example, the first item, what you will get, the first item will take a title. So the title could be, for example, CIB 1 the mobile. Okay, something like this. Then we can have a description, and this description will be something like this. Okay, and then we'll have an image, so image field, and image will comes from actually images folder. Then you can see inside image we'll have work experience 1 2 3. Okay, something like this. So we can simply say work experience, PRIENCES experience, for example 1.png. Okay, so this way, so this is a single actually object. We can have, let me format it, we can have another object, you can have to define another object, then we can have comma another object. We need totally 4 objects, so that's why I just pass my data here. You can just get the data from actually the source code. You will just find this type of data. Okay, you will find all of this data you need. And here actually we are using TypeScript, so it's actually require a type. So let me define type, and this type is for this experience item. And here whenever you just define type, you will have a equal sign, curly braces, and inside these actually you will define title. So title will be string format, then description string format, image string format. So then the typing error or types error has gone. Okay, so now we will map these experience items and show our details. Okay, so for doing this, inside this div actually we'll simply call our experience items dot map, and every time we will get for example items and then index. Okay, every time we will get this true value, and from here what you will do, you will have to return inside parenthesis. At first you can have a article element, and this article element must have a key value. So key will be, for example, index. Okay, so now inside this article we can have a card gradient. So we'll have card gradient. Okay, then we can have actually our main div. For example, we'll have our div, and this div Contain, look, each of these div contain a icon and then another div so contain the text. Okay, so that's why at first it will contain icon, then this icon div will be something like this. Here we will use image. Okay, so that's why let me import image from next image. Okay, so is image actually contain src, and the src will be here, we will use dynamically. So that's why we can simply say curly braces and say it will be item dot image. Okay, then we'll have alt alt tag and it will be, for example, item dot title. Okay, we can simply say item dot title. Okay, something like this. Then we need to define actually field so that it will take the full width. Then we'll have class name and we'll define some classes here. Object contain. Then we can have some drop shadow here. So for the image, drop shadow, and we'll define the custom drop shadow. So the custom drop shadow value will be 0_8 pixel _ 24 pixel _ RGBA color, and here the color value will be, for example, 113, 39, then 186, and opacity will be 35%. Okay, so right now you can see your image is here, probably your image is here. So you have all of this image here. Okay, so now if you have the image, let me target this actually this div. So let me target this div, and here actually we can simply say here we'll have grade, and by default we'll have grade calls 1, and on medium device we'll have grade calls 2. Okay, grade calls 2. Then we can just define some gap will be by default 6. On a small device will be gap 7. Then on medium device will be gap 8. Okay, something like this. And right now you can see why we'll have one images here. Let me do other stuff here. For example, we'll target this div and we'll add some actually styling. So it will be, for example, relative. Will define by default shrink 0, shrink shrink 0, so it will not shrink it. Then we'll define width, so 16. Then height will be 16. Then on a small device, width will be 20 and height will be 20. We can just simply say size 20. Okay, so within a small version, so size means width and height. Then on medium device we'll have size, for example, 24. Then we'll have transition transform. We can have duration 300, and we'll define group dash hover, and here we'll define minus translate y1. Okay, something like this. Let me define here y-1. Okay, so something like this. And after doing that, you can see it's right now it's available. Okay, after adding these actually width and height and others properties is actually displaying. So if it is display, what next actually? Look, so here we'll have this. So now on this article we can add some styling, we can add some css here. For example, as we are using group hover, so as we are using group hover, we'll make group here. So at first let me add group, then we can have relative, then we can have overflow hidden, rounded to excel. We will add some padding, p5 on a small device, p6 on medium device, p7. Then we'll add some background color, so bz will be a custom background color that will be hash 140a26. okay, after then we'll have border, and our border color will be something like this border, and it will be obviously another custom color, so that would be, for example, 2f1c and let me self close it. After then we'll have shadow, and shadow will be custom color shadow, so that's why we'll have arbitrary value here. So 0 underscore 10 pixel underscore 40 pixel underscore RGBA value, and here we will say 113 comma 39 comma 186 comma, and we'll add some opacity. For example, our opacity will be 0.25. okay, something like this. And after then what we'll do, after defining all of this stuff, we'll have transition. So transition wall, duration 300. Then we can have hover effects. okay, so we can have some hover effects here. So how we will hover should be, for example, minus translate y, for example 1. This is the default hover. Then whenever you are on medium device, we'll have translate y, for example 2. okay, and it will be obviously minus, so it will be obviously minus, so that is negative direction. And here we can have hover, so hover will add some border color. Border color will be custom color here, hash 7c3 aed, and the opacity will be 60%. Then lastly we can have a hover shadow. okay, so hover shadow, let me just accept this value. If need customization, we can just do that. Everything is okay for now. okay, so I think it will be 40. okay, so right now if you just define this, you can see you will have some beautiful card. okay, so you can have some beautiful card. And now we need to just load our descriptional content. okay, so here after this icon we can have to define our text. okay, so for having this text, we'll have another, let me add a comments, so text content, and here we'll have a div. So let me take a div here. Oh, this is actually not showing div. Let me do custom way. okay, inside this div, at first we'll have a AS4. so it's actually not suggesting why, I cannot understand. Let me restart our TypeScript server, shift alt p, and here we'll root restart TypeScript server. So this will solve the problem probably. okay, if it's not ready, we can reload our entire windows. okay, so now still TypeScript was not compiling. okay, done. okay, after then I just reload the windows. Let me restart it again. here inside this div we'll have a h4. Okay, we can have a h4, something like this. Okay, got it. The error is here. We can have to cut it and paste it here. We remove this h4. Okay, so we'll have a h4 will render the title, and I think it's okay. Right now you can see here is your title. It's a little bit big, so that's why let me customize our size. For example, we can have by default text base. Then when for example it's okay, we can have, for example, text extra small size XS. Okay, now no, we can just make it base. Then we'll have LG size, and on medium device we'll have XL size. We can have semi-bold. Okay, something like this. And after, then you can see you will have this. Okay, we'll have to move to the right section, so that's why here we'll target here. We'll simply define, for example, we will say this will be relative. Why we're using too much relative? Because we'll have absolute, so that's why we have to use relative. We'll have flex column, and on medium device we can have flex row, or on a small device we'll have flex row. Then we can have item center. Then on a small device we'll have items start. Then we'll have gap of 4, and on a small device gap of 5. Okay, something like this. And after doing that, you can see your content is here. So if you need, actually look much better, actually you will have the appropriate designing. If you need, you can just define more gaps here. You can just use 6. Okay, something like this. If you need much better gap, you can have, for example, say on medium device you will have gap of 8. Okay, something like this. So now much better. And after having this h4, we can have a paragraph, and this paragraph will just extract the description. So that's why item dot description. Okay, here right now you can see you will have your description. We'll add some styling here. So let me define class name. We'll say this will be margin top 2. Then we'll have text extra small. Then we'll have on medium device text SM. Then we'll have text white will be, for example, 60% opacity. We'll have max W SM, then MX auto, and we'll have on SM device MX0. Okay, something like this. So right now we can see we'll have this. And finally, at last, we need the button. Okay, so you can see the last one is this button. Okay, to make this type of button after this paragraph, what you will do, you will take a div, and inside this div we'll have a link from next link, and we will say the button is actually learn more. Okay, learn more. And here we'll have href. So right now we can simply define, we don't have anything, so that's why we will have a hash here. Okay, so if you have the link, then you can just give the actual link. And let me style this div. Here we will have to say this will be, for example, margin top 4, then it will be flex, then it will be justify center, and on SM it will be justify start. Okay, and inside this link we'll have the link styling. We will say for example, it will be inline flex. Then we can have item center, then text will be, for example, a custom size 11 pixel, 1 on pixel. Then we can have on medium device we'll have text extra small. Okay, then we'll have some padding px4 py 1.5, then rounded full. We can have background color, so bg will be hash 1a0 c2a, okay, something like this. Then we'll have border, then we'll have border color, so the border color will be, for example, hash 3e 1d 6d, okay. After then we'll have text white will be 80%. Now we'll apply some hover effect. So here hover will be, for example, text white, then hover will be border custom color, so the custom color will be hash a855 f7, something like this. After then we will define hover for background, so our background will be something like, here we'll have custom value 220 e3d, okay, something like this. And then transition will be on colors, okay, so something like this. And right now if you check here, you can see it's much better, okay, it's much better. So this section is almost complete. We need to define, for example, we need to define what we can do. We can just have some card gradient here. So lastly, we need some card gradient. So where is our card? Here you can see we will have our comments. So here we'll have to define our card gradient, okay. So we haven't add the card gradient yet, so that's why we will take a div here, okay, something like this type of div, and this will just define the color. So the color will not be applied, we'll have to define some styling. We don't use these way, okay, we don't use these way actually. We can have pointer events absolute, insert next, then to excel, rounded to excel. Then what we'll do, opacity will be, for example, this will be by default 70%. Then we'll define transition on opacity, duration, group hover, and this will be, for example, 90%, okay. And after then we will have custom styling, so that's why style element. And then inside this we'll have background, and we'll have something like this, background. Copy it and let me paste it here, okay. Now radial gradient background, we can have to change the value, for example 120 for now, then 80%, then add 80%, here 10%. Then the color value will be 125, then here 58, then 242, and here 0.35. After then we'll have 0%, okay, it's okay. Then we'll have the second value, here we'll have 58, we'll have, for example, 242, and the opacity will be, for example, 0.15, and then we'll have to define 25%, okay, 25%. And after this actually RGB value will have another value RGBA, okay. Here we can say this will be 18, 8, 36, 0, and we'll define this will be a opacity of actually, for example, 60%. Okay, so that's why we'll apply all of these CSS. Let me format this code. Okay, so format documents, and now you have see this is the things, and after doing this you can see the colors has some effect here. Okay, you can see this is some effect that are ready here. And right now if you check your website on a small device, it will be automatically responsive. Look, your all the card is automatically responsive, and how stunning this is. Okay, this is perfect. We have the section of work experience done. Next we'll have to make this text stack section. Okay, then we'll have project section, then we'll have contact and footer. Okay, so let's move to the next section. Now this time we'll have to make this section. So this is actually text stack section, and for making this, what we'll have to do, let me close this. Here on this component folder we'll create a new component that is actually text stack. Okay, text stack stack dot tsx rfc reactor functional component, and right now we'll have to convert it to section. We'll have to use a id that will be for lab, then we'll have class name, sorry, not children, it will be class name, and the class name will be relative, and then we will define margin top and bottom 28. Okay, now inside this page.tsx we'll replace it. Okay, so right now this will be text stack. Okay, import it. After doing that, you can see your website has text stack. Okay, so this is your text stack. Okay, so let's design it. Actually, for making this perfectly working, here what we'll do, so after this actually we'll take a new div. Okay, inside this div we'll have a, for example, a paragraph. So this paragraph will containing all the text that is here. For example, let me copy the text. We'll copy the first text. So this is our first paragraph, and paste it here. Okay, so after here we will have to just add some styling on this cross function. So that's why we'll take a span element and paste it here. Say this span, sorry, this span have class name, and we will define a text color. So the text will be, for example, hash A855 F7, something like this. Okay, and in this paragraph we will simply say, for example, text white, opacity will be 70%, and margin bottom, okay, margin bottom 6. Right now if you back to your website, and you can see this is here. Okay, then let me copy the second line. So this is the second paragraph, and after this paragraph we'll simply paste this paragraph, and here we'll have some class name. We'll say text white, and that would be opacity 50%. Then we'll have text size sm, then we'll have margin bottom 16. Okay, right now you can see it's here. So we move to it on center position. So that's why here on this paragraph we can say this will be by default, so text center. Okay, text center. So right now after doing that, you can see it's on the center position. And now lastly we'll have to design this section. Okay, so I actually you can just make it custom css, but for now I actually use a image of it. For example, here we'll have skill section image. We'll use this image. Okay, so this will actually help me to easily design this section. Otherwise if you just make custom design, it will take huge time. Okay, so that's why After this paragraph, we will take a div, and inside this div we will call a image from next image. Obviously it will be from next image to get the better performance. And here actually what we'll do, we can simply say this will be src. src will be take a stack, and it's actually, let me see, skill section. Okay, so let me copy this, and here we'll have to go images / take a stack, and after then we'll have alt. Okay, take a stack, then we have to define width. So our width will be, for example, 1280. Then we'll have height, so that will be 920, something like this size. You can have class name. Okay, so we'll define w by default full, and height will be auto, object contain, something like this. And lastly we will define priority. Okay, priority. So even if your image is larger size, and when you ever use priority, it's actually load your image, avoiding the speed. Okay, so something like this. You can see this is perfect, this is perfect. And if it's too big, we can just remove this object contain. Okay, we just remove this object contain, and now you can see it's much better. Okay, so it's much bigger, but we'll have to fix it. Here we will have some class name. We'll define relative will have max w for excel, and we'll define mx auto by default w full. Okay, so something like this. And after doing that, it must better. Right now you can see it's a smaller, and right now much better. Okay, so I think this section is completed. In the next video we'll just make this section. So here the most important thing is that when you hover, your portfolio will be scroll like this way. Okay, we'll have to make this type of scroll effect, and this is the important of this section. Okay, so let's move to the next video. Okay, so now this time we'll have to make this project section, and we'll have to display our project like this way. Okay, so making this type of project section, what you will do, at first let me create a new component inside this component folder, and we can just rename it some example. For example, projects section. Okay, so this is project section .tsx RAFC reactor functional component. It's very common, we're using lots of time. Here we'll have, this is a section, we'll have id, so id will be projects. Okay, and then here we'll have class name, we'll have as usual relative, and padding py, so that would be 28. Okay, something like this. And as we have two things, actually we'll have two projects, something like this way. So that's why what we'll do, we can simply use space y, for example 24, to get the gap of these two sections. Okay, inside this we'll have the first one. Okay, so let me design the first one at the beginning. We'll have inside this div, at first we'll have the gradient. So each div section has some gradient. You can see here is the gradient effect. We will design this gradient effect. So we can just save close div, take the save close div here. Okay, and we'll apply some styling. We'll have class name, we'll have to define pointer events none, as it's very common, absolute, then right 0, then left left 1/3, then we'll have top 8, then we will define this will be z index -10. Okay, then obviously we'll have some height, so we'll define a custom height for 120 pixel. Okay, then opacity 40, and lastly blur 3x. Okay, so this is the section. You can see here Right now you cannot see it, it will just visible within a few seconds whenever you have some styling. Okay, so then we will style while style, and we'll take another curly braces, we'll have background, and here we'll define this type of background. So let me define radial gradient, gradient, and here we'll have some thing. For example, we'll have 60% at 60%, then we'll have 40%. Okay, something like this. Then we'll define a comma, then RGBA value we have, for example, 125, then 58, then 242, and opacity will be 0.65. then we will close it and define the percentage. The percentage will be start from 0% or 0 angle, and then RGBA, and here the RGBA value will be 18, 8, 36, then 0, and we'll say this will be let me self close it, and this will be, for example, 70%. Okay, 70%, and let me self close it. So right now you can see, you cannot see the effect yet, but whenever you have actually content, you will see that. Okay, so inside this div, actually at first we will have another div, and inside this div we will have, say, another div. Okay, now for example, here you can see how we can just make this type of section. If I just inspect the design layout, for example, here you can see you must have two things, one div, for example, and the another section div here, and these two things contain different element. Here actually we'll have text, and this div will contain image. Text contain will have this, then card, then asterisk sign, all of these stuff. Okay, so how you can just go with it? For example, here in this div, let me say we'll have, for example, we'll have text content, and then we'll have another div, so this is for image. Okay, something like this. So right now if you check here, you can have this. Why not this is actually showing? Let me refresh. If not showing, we can just run this project a little bit again. Sometime Next.js cache it. So let me start it, and if I refresh, okay, I forget to import it. Maybe we'll have to at first import it, so that's why it's actually not showing. So project section, okay, after importing it, you will be see text and images, and it's applying. Okay, after then what you will do, look, we'll have to style here, so we will define, make it, for example, we will have to make it gradient or grid layout. Then we'll have by default grades 1 on medium device, grades calls 2, and we'll have to say it will be items grade calls 2, and gap will be 16. So right now we can have see text and images. Okay, so right now after then what we will say, we can have say another thing, items by default center. Okay, so now much better. Okay, so at first, do you want to design the image section? It's very easy. We can easily do that. So for example, for doing that, here on this image section we'll have another div. This div actually contain another div, and inside this div we'll have our image. Okay, image, so it will come from next image. Okay, So inside this we'll have to pass our src, then we'll have, for example, forward slash images forward slash then portfolio. So let me copy this portfolio image and paste it here. Then we'll have alt, so alt will be portfolio portfolio 1. Okay, something like this. And here we'll have some styling. We'll have width will be 582. Then we'll have height will be 640. Then we'll have some class name. The class name will be by default w full h auto. Then we'll have transition on transform, duration, for example, we'll add a larger duration. So the duration will be, for example, 3500. It will be is linear. Then we'll have groove hover, GROUP, groove hover, SOV, group hover. So group hover will be minus translate y. So that would be, we'll define a custom width, so that will be 55%. Okay, then when we just define group group active, okay, then we will say here when group active will have translate y, so same value, translate y, something like this, 55. And then we'll have group focus, so GROUP group FOCUS, not fast, FOCUS, group focus. And group focus will be the same, translate 55%. Okay, we'll have something like this. And after then we'll call this div, and here we'll have class name. We'll simply say this will be overflow hidden, overflow hidden. Then we'll have height will be, for example, a custom height. So this is actually 360 pixel, something like this. So right now if you back here, if you back your website, you can see you will have this. Okay, but it's actually not working. If you click, it's actually not doing anything. Okay, so how it will be worked? Okay, so how to make it active and working? So for doing that, here you will have a div. We'll simply target this div and we'll say this will be group, GROUP group, and we'll say cursor event. Okay, cursor pointer. Okay, something like cursor pointer. Then we'll have rounded to Excel, overflow hidden. Then we'll have some background color, busy hash 0f061c, something like this color. Then we will have border. Then we'll have border color. So border color will be hash 2f1c55. Okay, something like this. We'll have shadow, so we'll have custom shadow. So that's why here we'll say this will be 0_0_90 pixel, then underscore RGBA color, and here the color value will be something like, at first 168, 85, 247, then opposite will be 0.28. Okay, so 28, something like this. Then we can have transition transform. transition transform, and duration will be 300. Then we'll have when actually hover. So let me, when hover, we can say this will be translate y1. Okay, translate minus translate y1, and then we'll have focus minus translate y1. Okay, something like this. And right now we can see it's actually working. By doing this, it's perfectly working. Look, oh, amazing. No others packages I used. We just easily use Tailwind CSS to make this type of stuff. You can see it's actually possible. We define actually 50%, 55%, and here we'll just define the initial hover focus -1. Okay, so that is actually what it make it more perfectly. Okay, so now here to in this here we can simply define tab index, and that will be 0 value. Okay, so now it's perfectly work. Okay, perfectly working. So this section is done. This is our screenshot section. You can add a comments. So project image, something like this. And now let's design this text section. Okay, so it's much easier. You can do it easily. To make this text section, here we'll apply class name. We'll have relative, then we can have minus padding left, so 50%. Then we will have z index 10. Okay, so that it will be on top. So right now we can see it's something like this. Inside it actually we'll have heading first. Okay, so we'll have heading. So heading will contain a div, and this div, say heading will give a at first paragraph, and the first paragraph will say something like this: featured project. Okay, it will say featured project. Okay, let me design it. We'll have class name. We'll say this will be text extra small. Then we'll have text color. So this color will be custom value A48 CC9. Okay, something like this. And after doing that, we'll have a S3 or 4. It's up to you. This is actually example project, and we'll have class name like, we can say this will be text to Excel. Then on medium device, text 3 Excel. Then font semi bold and text white, and opacity will be, for example, 90%. Okay, and in this parent div we can easily say this will be margin bottom 12. Okay, so margin bottom 12. Now perfect, you can see you will have this. Okay, you will have this. After doing that, what you will do, after doing that, you need to just define this card. Okay, using this text to make this type of beautiful card. Here after this div we'll have another div. So this is actually description. We'll have this div, and here we'll have paragraph. Let me paste this. We'll define some styling on this paragraph. We'll say this will be, for example, text sm. Okay, then we'll have padding 4. We'll have text white, text white. That will be opacity 75%, something like that. So right now we can see you will have your text, but we need to define the background color. So that's why we'll target this div and say here will be relative, and then we can have on medium device actually we'll add some margin right, minus margin right, actually 24. Then we'll have on medium device minus margin top 6. Then we'll have z index 20. Then max w 5 Excel. rounded to excel, padding 5, busy white, that opacity will be 6%, and backdrop blur SM. Then we'll have some border, we'll have border white, so this will be, for example, 10%. We'll have some shadow, shado shadow, and that would be custom size. Okay, custom size shadow, and this shadow will be, for example, 00. We'll define 0.6 pixel. Then we'll have here, instead of 90, we'll define 50. Then we can have RGB value, we'll customize this value 126. Then here we'll have 34. Then we'll have 206, and the opacity will be 25. Okay, so now it's okay. So if you now check here, you will have something like this. So if you think it's actually you need more customization, you need more space, you can do that space. So let me check here. Maybe we need some padding. Okay, here the padding is missing. We'll have P4 actually. So right now, if you say, you can see you will have much better. Okay, you have much better styling. And after making this type of styling, what you will do, you can simply need asterisk. Okay, so, or you can have another thing, as this is the paragraph. After this paragraph, you can just div, add another styling div. So this will be self closing style. Okay, here we'll have some class name. So class name will be something like this way. So our TypeScript is compiling to detecting things. Let me format this code. If you have faced this type of issues, you can update your Visual Studio Code. So, or let me just press Ctrl Shift P and restart the window, reload the window. I think now it will work. Okay, and obviously when you reload, you will have to run your project again. Sometimes it's actually can affect when you are using old version. Okay, let me define. We'll have to style pointer events none. Then we'll have absolute. Then we'll have minus inset pixel. Then we'll have actually rounded. So this will be custom rounded 14 pixel. Then opacity 16. Okay, something like this. And then we'll have to style it. So for styling, we'll have style. Then we'll have another curly braces. We'll have background. Okay, something like this. Here we'll have linear gradient, and we'll change the degree value. Here our degree will be, for example, 135, and the RGBA value will be here we can simply define 168, then 85. Then we'll have 247, and opacity will be 35. And now here for the another value, the first value will be 168, the second value will be 85, the third value will be 247, and lastly the opacity will be 0.05. Okay, so now you can see it must better effect. Okay, it's much better effect. And after doing that, at last So after this div, we will have the historic div. Okay, so for example, we will have a div, and this div contain a span, and it's actually historic. Okay, we'll have another span, so this is actually historic. So how to style this? Actually, here on this div, we'll have class name, and same, this will be margin top 5, we'll have margin left 2, we'll have flex justify start, then we'll have space x3, then text white forward slash 60%. Okay, so right now we can see you will have this is done. So if this section is done, what you can do, if this section is done, you can simply just copy this div, the entire div. Actually, look, we will have to copy the entire div. Okay, let me copy this entire div and paste it here. Okay, so right now we can see you will have two versions, and for these versions, actually what you will do, for this version we can have to actually move this text to the right side. Okay, how we can do that? You can easily do this by using actually border. So how you make this order? For example, this is the second div. I think this is the second div. Here, let me define inside this grid, we'll have these two things. Okay, we'll have, this is our image, and this is actually for text. Okay, so text content. Okay, text content. Here on this text content, you can simply define actually here we don't need this. Okay, we don't need this. We can simply define for example, on medium device, order will be true. Okay, so right now you can see it's okay. Like, look, it's perfect, something like this. But here actually we need more customization. To do that, to fix it, here what you can do, that here on this div, on this project image section, we can simply say class name, and we'll define relative and margin order 1. Okay, so it's much better. And but I think we have to move this text section here, and we'll have to move this is to this right section, and you can see it's much bigger. Okay, you can see this is much bigger, this section is much bigger. Okay, so how to fix it? Actually, for example, here we'll have a much bigger gap. Okay, so we can just remove this gap from here. We can remove this gap from here. So now it's something like this, and obviously we can just remove it from the top, so we don't need this gap. Okay, so much better now, but still we have issues. For example, we need to remove this heading to actually right direction. So we'll say this is actually text right. Okay, so you can see right now you will have the text right direction, and this will be actually by default, I think it's okay. And after doing that, here on this section, on this description section, we need to customize a little bit. Here you can see we'll have margin right, we'll define margin left. Okay, so after defining this, I think you must better experience. Okay, and see it's much better experience. You can hover it, you can have this effect, and if you inspect it and see, your section is something like this. Okay, perfect. Okay, so it's much perfect. But if you need more customization, for example, if the image is too large, you can just still customize it. For example, here this will be on medium device, and you can say on by default height will be, for example, 250, something like this, 250 pixel, or you can custom height here. Okay, now I think it's perfect. It's much better experience. No worries about it, but you can control it. Okay, so after making this type of things, what next actually? We'll have to move this to the right direction. So here, where is the strike sign? Probably here. So we'll simply define justify int, and now you can see it's now int. Okay, so it's very easy. And lastly, we'll have to design this contact section, then we'll have this footer and animation. Okay, so now the contact section, it's not very fancy, but we can have minimal contact section. Okay, so how we can make it? Let me close it. Here on this component folder, we'll create a new folder, new file that is actually contact section .tsx rfce vector functional component. Let me import it. So this is our contact section, or we can simply say contact. Okay, contact section. Let me close it. And right now on this contact section, we can have section, then we'll have id, that will be contact, then we'll have class name, and as usual we will define py24 and relative. Okay, so something like this. So right now you can see you have this contact section. Let's design it. So for designing it, here we'll have a div. This div contain h3, and this will say something like this, contact. Okay, so contact, let me style this div. Here we can have text to excel, then we'll have on medium device text 3 excel. After then font semi bold, we'll have text color white, opacity will be 90%, and margin bottom 8. Okay, so after then we can have paragraph. Okay, so let me copy this paragraph, paste it here. We can have to style it. So let me, class name will have text sm, then we'll have on let me define some text color, text white, and we'll define opacity 60%, and we'll have max width excel, max width excel. Okay, something like this. Perfect. Now we can see you will have these two things. After then, is it okay? Mass bigger. Okay, you can just define 6 for now. So if you just want much better, 6 or 7 is fine. 7. Okay, after then actually we will have a div, and inside div will have link. Okay, so link will be mail to. Okay, something like this. Let me save, close, and here we'll have the email address. Right now copy it, paste it here, and you can use your own email address. For example, let me define hello @code tutor bt. So this is my mail, and we can have to keep it on mail to. Okay, so that means whenever anyone click here, it will just open the email options. Okay, then let me add some styling. We'll have class name and say hover text will be, for example, custom color hash a855 f7, something like this. Now you can see you will have this, okay, and if you click, it will automatically let me check I have did anything. Mail to, okay, everything is perfect. Okay, after doing that, what next? So the thing is that here we'll have some class name we'll define. So this will be margin top 6. We'll have text white, for example 80%. Now must better. Okay, after then we'll have this type of icons. Okay, to make this type of icons we'll have a div, and inside this div we'll have link. For example, the first one is LinkedIn, and you can see you will have LinkedIn. So where is LinkedIn is here. Okay, we don't need to keep it there. So that's why here instead of LinkedIn here would remove this type of absolute position from here. It will be something like this, and let me remove all of this stuff. We don't need this. Actually we can have, for example, we can have hover class. So this type of hover effect, let me copy this hover effect and keep it here. And here for this LinkedIn, or let me check which image is there. So this is Instagram. So we, instead of this text, we'll use Instagram. So that's why we'll have fa Instagram, and we'll import it, and then we'll define the size. Okay, so class name will be size. So size will be 5. Okay, so right now you can see you have this. Okay, you have this. So we'll apply some styling here. We'll have class name, and we'll have to define this type of, okay, styling. You can see it's perfect. After this we can simply copy this and make some copy, shift alt down arrow to copy it 3 times. The second one will be if a dribble, dribble dribble icon. Then third one is will be if a, for example, if a Google. Okay, if a Google. So right now I think it's perfect. If you check, it's perfect. Now after doing this, what next? We need to design the footer, and for making this footer we'll have already the component. We'll have to design this component. It's a very basic design. Here we'll convert it to footer, fwter footer, and inside these actually we'll have a div, and inside this div we'll have a paragraph. Okay, the paragraph will say something like this. Let me copy this text. Okay, let me copy this text, and right now here we'll have to display the date, not manually, we'll convert it dynamically. So that's why here we can have something like this, new date. Okay, we'll call the new date function, and dot get full year. Okay, something like this method. So and then here you can change your own name. I just define code tutor labs, labs labs, and all right, preserve. Here we'll have to styling the paragraph. So the paragraph will be text extra small, then text white 30%, and then we'll call this div, and do define something like this, max w 7xl, then we'll have mx auto, then we'll have px 6 lg fix it, and others stuff. Clone px 8, and then we'll have py 8, then text center. Okay, something like this. And here on this footer we'll say class name, we'll have margin top 24, we'll have border top, then we'll have border white 10%. Okay, opacity right now, and see you have this exactly same footer. Okay, something like this. Okay, perfect. Let me check it on mobile device. I think everything is perfect. Okay, if everything is perfect right now, in the next video we will make the future the animation. Look, it's perfectly working. Every section is absolutely working. So next video we will make the animation. Okay, so how we can make your animation? So using the GSP. Okay, so GSAP animation, we will apply this animation in the next video. So how we can explore it and use your on your next JS project. Okay, GSAP animation, how you can do that? At first you will have to open your terminal. Let me take a new terminal, and here we will go to the docs section. We'll go to the docs section, and if you just take a little bit overview, here you can see the installation tab. Go there, you have the video, you can have the options, you can use npm yarn, whichever you are using. You can just copy this, paste it here, and import it. Okay, so after doing this, you can see how you have to use it. You will have to use it this way, but we will use actually more efficiently. So that's why, as we will just use it more efficiently, in this component folder we will just make a wrapper. Okay, so the wrapper will be, so scroll scroll reveal 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 dot tsx. Okay, so this will be a component, so something like this, and I will just say, let me RAFC reactor functional component. And here what you will do, at first you need to define this import. So let me copy this, or UDM. Okay, we have to copy this. Okay, now paste at the top GASP, and we can simply define, we can remove this. Okay, we can remove this. Okay, we can directly just define it, and after then we need the scroll. So scroll triggerer. So here you can see, if you just click reveal triggerer, you will have this reveal triggerer. So we'll have to copy this also and keep it at the top. Okay, now we'll have to define some type definition. So we'll have type typ type definition, and it's type for ScrollReveal props, something like this. Okay, inside this type definition, at first we'll have children. Okay, children will be React node. Then we'll have class name is string. Then we can have offset y value, that would be number. Then we can have opacity from this will be a number value. So this will initial opacity. Then we'll have duration, it will be a number. Then we'll have delay will be a number. Then we'll have is, animation type is string. So is actually define how smooth the animation is. Then strager strager will be a number, and lastly we'll have edge, it's a options. Okay, and we'll define key of, and this will be react dot jsx dot, so intent strict element. Okay, so this is the types we're going to use here. Okay, so after defining here we can simply, we'll have curly braces, and then we'll have to define the types of ScrollReveal props. Okay, something like this. Now inside this we will have to pass our children. Then we'll have to provide class name. Okay, then we'll have to provide offset y. So this value will be, for example, we'll keep it 24. Okay, so offset y meanings actually, so initially vertical offset, okay, vertical y-axis offset, then we'll have opacity from 0, duration how many seconds it will be apply or it will be applying, so that would be 0.8. Then we'll have delay will be 0, and then we can have ease, so ease will be power 3 out. Then stranger will be stranger, we'll just define it later when we're using. And we have as wrapper div. Okay, so we are just using all of this stuff, and after then inside it, what we'll do after then, at first we'll have to define a use ref const here container ref, and we'll call use ref hook ref hook, import it, and we'll define this will be so something like this element null, and we will define the optional value null. Okay, so null, something like this. After containing this, after this use ref, what you will do, you will have to define use effect hook, and this will have the callback and the empty dependency, callback comma empty dependency. Okay, so inside this use effect, what you will do, at first you will check register plugin in client only. Okay, so how you can do this, for example, we'll have to check if type of window equal here undefined, we'll just simply return it. Okay, after then we'll just register, so the register plugin is something like this, GSP register plugin. Okay, you can see this is the register plugin, we'll have to use it, and we can simply paste it here. After then we'll just define an element, so our element will be const element element element, so element will be container ref dot okay, container ref dot current, will define the type as unknown as HTML element or null. Okay, something like this. After having this, we'll have if not element, we'll return it. Then we'll have to define triggers, so that's why here we'll define const targets, and targets will be GSAP dot, so what is GASAP dot twin 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 target, and here it will be equal, we'll define type of check here, and we'll check stranger, and stranger will be a number. If it's a number, then we'll define for example, we'll have to define element as HTML element. Okay, as HTML element, and we'll define dot query selector wall. Okay, inside it we can simply define scope scope is greater than 0, otherwise we'll return the element. Okay, so this is our targets, and now we'll define const ctx and it will be GSP context. Okay, something like this. Here we'll have, for example, GSAP dot from to, and we'll say Inside it, at first we'll have to provide the targets, then we'll have options. Options will be, for example, opacity. Opacity will be opacity from, and y will be offset y, and after then we'll have another options. Okay, so another options, these options will be opacity 1, then we'll have y, and duration delay is ScrollReveal, then scroll trigger. Okay, scroll trigger will be, sorry, something like this. Start int, here will have int. Okay, and let me define once will be true, and finally we'll have to close it. Okay, so right now what we define it here, opacity will be 1, y axis value 0, delay exists, and here trigger element top 85%. You can just customize a little bit. Bottom will be 10%. Play once on reveal, once none reverse. Okay, and lastly once true. Okay, we have all of this stuff, and after doing here, we can simply inside this block we have to return. So we'll return a callback, so we'll have something like this. We can simply define, so revert it, and we'll have to define the actually dependency offset y, then offset from duration delay triggers. Okay, all of this stuff. And lastly, after doing that, after the use effect, we'll have const taz tag, and our tag will be wrapper, wrapper, yes, any. Okay, so now here we will have to define, this will be tag, and we can simply use ref equal, we'll have container ref, and then we'll have class name, the class name will be the class name. Okay, and inside these actually we'll have to provide children. Okay, so why this tag is not showing, why it's error, let me check it. Okay, so maybe here we rename something like this component, so we will keep this wrapper to this section, it will be wrapper. Okay, so now it's correct. Okay, so everything is ready, and whenever you are just using this any of your component, for example, if you go to the hero section and now you would like to use on, for example, let me go to the hero section, and for example you want to use it on avatar section, and something like this, you want to use it on this avatar section, how you can do that? So you can simply, instead of this div, you can call scroll reveal, SCROLL scroll reveal. Okay, import it, and let me rename this properly. Okay, so now you can see we're using this ScrollReveal, and we'll also add a treasure value will be 0.12. Okay, so right now if you back to your website and see, it's actually perfectly working. Look, this is perfectly working. And now then you can have to use it also here. So how you can do this? For example, rule and descriptions, you can also use this reveal, scroll reveal here, and its treasure will be for now or you can just use a little bit delay instead of this. For example, it will take a delay of 1.5. Okay, so right now we can see if you refresh, perfect. So this way it will work. And for example, on this work experience section, how you can use it. For example, for this work experience section, let me go to the work experience section, and here after this h3 we'll use it here. For example, it will be scroll and reveal. We'll have to import it. Okay, let me import it. Then we'll have a treasure, for example 0.15, something like this. And now you can see use effect. Here we'll have an error. So this error says whenever you using use effect, you will have to make it client component. That means we'll have to convert this scroll reveal will be a use client. Okay, so it's always depend on whenever you are working on a project. You can see it's perfectly showing. So okay, so perfect animation is applying, and you can do the same way to the others component. I just ignore it. And okay, no, let me complete it. For example, for this text is stuck, how we can apply it, I just it don't take too much time. For example, here text stack section, and here you can just define. Let me import it. It takes few seconds to apply animation. It will be treasure, for example 0.08. okay, right now you can see. Okay, if you just okay, you can see. Okay, its animation is working perfectly. After then we'll have the next thing is that project section. So go to the project section, and here we'll have to use reveal animation. For example, where we can use it. So we'll have two main div, and inside the first div we'll have this div, and after then we'll have another div. Okay, so this is actually great. Okay, we can just simply define ScrollReveal here. Let me import it, and we'll say this will be treasure 0.12. Okay, right now you can see if you scroll. Okay, look, project section, lab section, project section, animation is working. Okay, so after then we can just do this on the same way, but here on the second one we'll just use treasure. So where is actually the thing? This is the grid sections. We'll have treasure, and we'll define treasure. For example, we can have 0.12. okay, so right now you can see I am on the home section. If you go to the project section, okay, animation is perfectly working. You can add some delay will be 0.8. okay, look, you're on home, go to the project section. Okay, so it's perfect. We can have, for example, 40. Okay, so this is working. And lastly we'll have contact section. So on this contact section we can have to convert this div to the ScrollReveal. Let me import it, and we'll say this will be actually treasure will be for example 0.08. Okay, so now, okay, perfect. So all the animation is applying. You can see how smooth our animation is, and it's also working on the small device. Okay, look, perfectly working, no issues. Okay, so if everything is working, in the next video I will show you how we can deploy this project on Vercel. Okay, so that would be the last part of this tutorial series. Okay, so at first in this video I will show you how you can host this project on GitHub and then deploy it on Vercel. Okay, so for doing this, at first you will go to your GitHub, then here you have plus icon, click this new repository, and you will have to define a repository name. For example, this is portfolio website using Next.js, for example 16. Okay, something like this. You can just rename it anything, then create repository. Okay, so we'll have to follow this step, but before that, at first whenever you are working on it, you must have to build your project and see if there is any error. Okay, so to build your project, npm run build. Okay, so this is the command, and press enter, and if you just make any mistake, you will get the result here. I have everything completed, no error yet. So if there is no error, now we can proceed this. So at first you will have to add init. Okay, we'll have to add init, then we'll have to write your readme file. I just use my own readme file. Let me copy it, so I will provide you this. So this is a readme file, I just replace it. Okay, after defining this, you don't have to just customize the readme file. Then you will define git add, so that it will add everything. Then it will have all of this command, copy this and paste it here. Okay, and let me press enter. If you do this, then you can see right now you have all of this stuff. Okay, all of this stuff. And after, then what you will do, you will go to the Vercel. Okay, and right now you will simply create a new projects. Then here you will have to connect your GitHub repository, import it. Now click this build. Okay, it's so easy, you don't have to do anything here. You can simply, so it's building, takes few seconds, so we'll have to wait. Okay, it's done. Now if you go to dashboard, you will find the live domain URL. You can share it to your friends. Look how amazing this website is. Okay, perfect, everything is working perfectly. Okay, so and lastly I can say that if you want to add domain, just buy domains and then click this domain icons. Now you can just add your domains here. You can just put your domain, choose production and save it. Then you will have to add a air records. You can just do that. If you need the process, you can just contact me. So if you face any problem to add domain on your projects. Okay, so right now I don't have any domain, so I cannot add it here. Okay, so thank you for watching this. If you feel this video is good, please leave a comment for me to just inspire me.